The Village's Dilemma. In the white, sun-drenched land of the African savanna, where golden grasses danced in the breeze and tall acacia trees stretched their thorny branches to the sky, there was a small village called Nyota. It was a peaceful place, where everyone knew everyone, and even the animals had names. Children played barefoot in the dust, their laughter echoing across the plains, and farmers tilled their lands with strong hands and hopeful hearts. At the center of Nyota ran a river, narrow and winding, but always alive. The villagers called it Mto Mzuri, the beautiful river. It brought water to drink, coolness during the hot days, and life to their crops. They loved the river as though it were a member of their own families. But something had changed. It started with a strange silence. Birds no longer chirped as they gathered by the banks. Frogs stopped their nightly songs. Then, one morning, the river didn't sing at all. The children were the first to notice. "Mama, look," cried a young girl named Lela. "The river's gone." Her mother dropped her basket of washing, rushing to the riverbed. What she saw made her gasp: dry, cracked mud where there had once been flowing water. The once glimmering Mto Mzuri was now just a winding scar across the land. Word spread quickly. By midday, the entire village had gathered at the river's edge. Even Elder Amina, who rarely left her shaded porch, came hobbling with her carved walking stick. "This is not just a drought," she whispered as she gazed at the dry bed. "Something is very wrong." The villagers muttered among themselves, fear tightening their voices. "How will we water our crops? What will our children drink? What if the animals leave?" Farmer Juma, a big man with a beard like a lion's mane, stepped forward. "We've always had the river. It's never dried up, not in my grandfather's time, nor his father's before him." "The sun is hotter than ever," muttered another. "And the rains haven't come for weeks." Max, a small dog with scruffy brown fur and a black patch over one eye, sat quietly at the edge of the crowd, his ears packed and tail twitching. He wasn't like the other dogs. While the village hounds chased chickens and dug holes, Max liked to sit near the elders, listening to their stories. And one story in particular had always stayed with him, the story of Leo, the mighty lion king who lived deep in the savannah. According to the tale, Leo was no ordinary lion. He was wise and ancient, with a golden mane that shimmered like the sun and eyes that could see into your heart. They said Leo once brought rain to a thirsty land just by roaring into the sky. Some believed he was just a myth. But Max believed he was real. As the villagers argued and worried, Max had already made up his mind. He would go. He would find Leo and ask for his help. The river had always been there for the village, and now it was Max's turn to be there for the river. That evening, when the sun dipped low and painted the sky with orange and purple, Max snuck away. He trotted past the quiet houses, past the worried voices around small fires, and out into the open plains. His little paws stirred the dust as he walked, but his heart thudded like a drum. He didn't know where Leo lived, only that it was far beyond the hills, where the grass grew taller and the sky seemed bigger. But Max wasn't afraid. His legs were short, yes, but his spirit was mighty. The village needed help, and he would find it. Back in Nyota, Elder Amina sat watching the horizon. Her old eyes twinkled as she spotted the tiny shape disappearing into the wild. Bravery, she whispered, does not depend on size. The next morning, when the villagers noticed Max was gone, they were puzzled. He's just a little dog, someone said. What could he do? But the children knew better. They believed in stories. They believed in Leo. And now, they believed in Max. Out on the savannah, the little terrier pushed on. The grasses brushed his fur, the sun burned his back, and birds soared high above. Every now and then, Max stopped to sniff the air, look around, and gather his courage. His journey had begun. Max's journey begins. The sun had barely risen when Max trotted across the dry, cracked earth, leaving behind the sleeping village of Nyota. The sky was painted with soft pinks and oranges, and the cool morning breeze tugged gently at his fur. He didn't look back. His eyes were fixed on the horizon, toward the distant hills where he believed Leo the lion might be found. Max's journey had begun. The savannah stretched endlessly before him, dotted with thorny bushes and tall grasses that whispered secrets in the wind. Butterflies danced past his nose, and far off in the distance, an elephant lifted its trunk to the sky. Max took it all in with wide, determined eyes. He had never traveled this far from the village before. Everything felt new, exciting, but also a little scary. I'm not just any dog, Max muttered to himself as he walked. I'm Max, the brave. Max, the hero. Max, the lion finder. He marched on, repeating his new titles to stay brave. But as the morning turned to afternoon and the sun climbed higher, Max's little legs began to ache. His tongue lolled out of his mouth, and his shadow grew short under the blazing heat. I just need to rest, just for a moment, he said, plopping down beneath the shade of a flat-top tree. But before Max could close his eyes, a voice startled him. Well, what do we have here? Came a raspy chuckle. Max jumped up to see a group of meerkats peering at him from a nearby mound. One of them wore a leaf like a hat. Another was chewing a beetle. They looked mischievous. I'm Max, he said cautiously, standing tall. I'm on an important journey. Important, said the hat-wearing meerkat, leaning on a stick. What business does a little dog have in the middle of the savannah? I'm going to find Leo the lion, Max said, his voice firm. The meerkats gasped, then burst into laughter. You, one squeaked. You're barely bigger than a bush squirrel. But I'm brave, Max insisted. And I'm doing it for my village. Our river has dried up. The meerkat stopped laughing. The leader's smile faded. The river? That's serious. We haven't seen rain in weeks. Even the termites are thirsty. Max nodded. That's why I have to keep going. The meerkats exchanged glances. Then the one with the leaf hat gave Max a small nod of respect. You've got courage, pup. Follow that path west, past the antelope plains and into the lion's grove. That's where the stories say Leo was last seen. Thank you. Max barked, tail wagging. Watch out for the jackals, one meerkat warned. They are not as friendly as us. Max gulped. I'll be careful. With a final wag and wave, Max set off again, following the dusty path westward. The sun beat down on him, but the thought of Leo kept him going. Every step brought him farther from home, and closer to the legend. By late afternoon, the grassland turned into stony hills. Rocks jutted out like jagged teeth, and the wind howled through cracks in the stone. Max carefully climbed over loose gravel and avoided cacti that pricked his paws. Suddenly, he heard a rustle. He froze. Something was following him. Max crept behind a rock, his ears twitching. Another rustle. Then, a growl. From behind a boulder leapt a jackal, eyes sharp and teeth bared. Two more appeared, circling Max. "Hello, little dog," the leader growled. "What are you doing so far from your home?" I'm just passing through," Max stammered, trying not to show fear. The jackal laughed. "This is our land now. Nothing passes through without our permission." Max swallowed hard. "I don't want trouble." Too late, the second jackal sneered, stepping closer. Max's heart pounded. He backed away, his mind racing. He couldn't outrun 3 jackals. He needed a plan. Just then, thunder rumbled faintly in the distance. The jackals looked up. In that moment of distraction, Max darted toward a narrow crevice between 2 rocks. He squeezed through, barely fitting, while the jackals snarled and snapped behind him. One of them tried to follow but got stuck. "You'll never make it to the grove," the leader shouted. "Leo won't help a scruffy mutt like you." Max didn't stop. He ran and ran until he couldn't hear the jackals anymore. Only when the sky turned golden with sunset did he finally collapse under a bush, his sides heaving. "I did it," he whispered. "I made it." As stars blinked to life above, Max curled into a ball, his fur dusty and legs sore. But his heart was stronger than ever. He'd survived his first danger. He was one step closer to Leo. Somewhere out there, the Lion King was waiting. And Max, small but fearless, would find him. The quest for the rain tree. The morning sun rose slowly over the savannah, painting the horizon with soft gold. Max opened one eye, then the other. He stretched his paws and yawned deeply. His little body was sore from yesterday's adventure, the climb over sharp rocks, the escape from the jackals, but his spirit was strong. "Today's the day," he told himself. "Today I'll find Leo." Max stood and looked around. The land before him was different now, greener, wilder. Trees with white canopies dotted the land, and the air smelled of damp leaves and blossoms. Birds chirped and monkeys hooted in the distance. "This must be the Lion's Grove," Max whispered in awe. He followed a narrow path that twisted through the trees, each step taking him deeper into the mysterious grove. Vines dangled from branches like jungle ropes, and the wind whispered secrets through the leaves. The stories said Leo, the wise lion, lived somewhere beyond this forest, and Max would find him. But first, he had to find something else. Max remembered what the meerkats had told him: if you want to speak to Leo, find the rain tree. It's old, older than time, and its roots whisper to the earth. The rain tree, Max muttered. How do I find a tree that whispers? He padded forward, sniffing the air, his ears alert for any sound. For a while, all he heard was the rustle of leaves and the distant calls of animals. Then, suddenly, plop! A drop of water landed on his nose. Max blinked. Another drop. Then another. But it's not raining, he said, looking up. The sky above was perfectly clear. He took a few more steps, and the air grew cooler, mistier. He could hear the soft trickle of water, though there was no stream in sight. Then, through a gap in the trees, Max saw it, a giant tree, far larger than any other, its bark a deep silver and its leaves wide and blue-green, glistening with dew. The rain tree, Max breathed. The tree seemed to shimmer in the sunlight, and even though there wasn't a single cloud in the sky, droplets of water fell gently from its leaves, like a quiet, endless rain. Max approached slowly, feeling as though he were stepping into a dream. As he reached the base of the tree, the ground beneath his paws was damp and soft. Moss grew thick and springy, and tiny flowers bloomed in every color. Max sat beside the trunk and whispered, "Rain tree, I need help. My village is thirsty. The river has dried up. We don't know why." The tree did not speak with a voice, but Max felt something. A hum beneath the earth. A warmth that pulsed through his pores. Then, a rustle in the branches. A low, deep voice came from above. "You are brave, little one." Max gasped and looked up. There, lying on a thick branch, was Leo. He was magnificent. His mane was golden like fire, his eyes wise and glowing amber. He looked both powerful and peaceful. "Leo," Max stuttered. The lion leapt gracefully down, landing beside Max with a thud that shook the ground. "I am Leo," the lion said gently. "And you must be the dog who came across the wildlands to find me." Max nodded quickly. "I came to ask for your help. Our river, Mto Mzuri, has dried up. We don't know why. The crops are dying. The animals are leaving. The village is scared." Leo studied Max with kind eyes. "And why did you come? Why not send a lion? Or a bird to fly faster?" Max hesitated. "Because no one else would. They didn't think I could do it. But I had to try." Leo smiled. "That is true bravery, not fighting, not size, but doing what's right when it's hard." He turned to the rain tree and closed his eyes. The tree shimmered again, and its droplets fell faster. "There is a reason your river is gone," Leo said. "It has been stolen." "Stolen?" Max yelped. "How can someone steal a river?" Leo nodded gravely. "Far beyond the lion's grove lives a greedy creature named Zorak. He's a sand serpent who feeds on water and hoards it in crystal jars. He has twisted the flow of the MTO Missouri and hidden it deep in his underground cave. Max's ears drooped. Then, it's hopeless. Leo placed a huge paw gently on Max's back. Nothing is hopeless, little dog. Not when courage leads the way. But Zorak is tricky and dangerous. You need more than bravery. Max looked up. I'll do whatever it takes. Leo nodded. Then you must take a drop from the rain tree. Just one. Carry it with you. When the moment comes, use it. But only when your heart tells you it's right. Max watched as a single glowing drop of water floated down from a leaf and hovered in the air like a magical pearl. It lowered into a smooth nutshell that Leo passed to him. Max took the shell gently in his mouth and tucked it into a small pouch made of vine and bark. Thank you, Leo, he said. Leo stepped back into the shade. You have a long journey ahead. Head east, to the Scotch Plateau. Zorak's lair lies beneath it. Trust yourself, Max. As Max turned to go, the rain tree rustled again. The path ahead shimmered with light. With a full heart and a sacred drop, Max took his first steps toward the serpent's lair, toward danger, mystery, and the hope of saving his village. Into the serpent's lair. Max stepped out of the lion's grove as the sky turned dusky orange. The air was drier here, and a faint hum vibrated beneath his paws, as if the earth was warning him. He carried the tiny pouch tied gently around his neck, the magical drop from the rain tree nestled safely inside. Leo's voice echoed in his mind, "Trust your heart, Max. That is where your courage lives." Ahead of him stretched the Scotch Plateau, a land where nothing grew, where the sun beat down so harshly that even the clouds avoided it. This was Zorak's realm. The lair of the sand serpent who had stolen the river. Max didn't tremble, even as a hot wind blew dust into his eyes. He walked steadily, his paws crunching on cracked ground. Strange rock formations rose like teeth, casting long shadows. Somewhere beyond them, Zorak waited. He had no idea what the serpent looked like. No one in the village had ever seen him. Some said he was as long as 10 elephants. Others whispered he could vanish into sand and strike without warning. But Max didn't care how big or scary Zorak was. He had to save his home. After hours of walking, Max saw a narrow ravine up ahead. Two massive stones leaned inward, forming a jagged mouth. Between them, stairs carved from black rock led downward into darkness. "This must be it," Max whispered. He hesitated for a moment, then padded forward. As he descended, the light dimmed and the air grew cooler. The world above faded into silence. The only sound was the echo of Max's soft footsteps on stone. Suddenly, a voice slithered out of the shadows. "Who dares enter my domain?" Max froze. The voice was deep and oily, like it was sliding along the walls. "I'm Max," he said, his voice shaking just a little. "I've come for the river." The darkness hissed with laughter. "The river," the voice mocked. So the little flea-bitten dog wants to play hero. I may be small, Max growled, but I'm not afraid of you. The cave trembled. A massive shape began to unwind from the far wall, coils of shining golden scales, each as wide as a tree trunk. Two eyes glowed like molten gems, and from the shadows, the serpent rose. Zorak. He was enormous. His fangs were longer than Max's entire body. His tongue flicked the air, tasting Max's scent. You've come a long way, Zorak hissed. Why don't you turn around and crawl back to your muddy little village? Max stood tall. Because you stole something that doesn't belong to you. Zorak's laugh rumbled through the chamber like thunder. I take what I want. And now I'll take your courage, little dog. In a flash, Zorak lunged. Max leapt to the side, just in time. The serpent's jaw slammed into the stone, cracking it. Max ran deeper into the lair, through winding tunnels and glowing crystal halls. Zorak chased him, his massive body slithering like a river of fire behind him. Max darted through narrow spaces, ducked under stalactites, and scrambled over slippery rocks. The whole cave seemed alive, moaning, groaning, closing in. Finally, Max reached a vast chamber at the heart of the mountain. There, floating in the center, were dozens of crystal jars, each glowing with blue light. Inside them, water shimmered, swirling like trapped clouds. The river. Max gasped. He's bottled the whole river. Zorak slithered in behind him, filling the chamber. No one touches my collection, the serpent roared. Max's paws shook. The jars were too high for him to reach. He didn't know how to free them. Then he remembered the rain tree's gift. He reached into his pouch and gently took out the glowing drop. It floated in his paw like a tiny star. Zorak paused, eyes narrowing. What is that? Max held it high. Something you'll never understand. Then, following the beat of his heart, Max hurled the drop of water into the air. It burst like a firework. Light filled the chamber, a brilliant, glowing rain pouring from the ceiling. The crystals shattered, one by one, and water roared out in rivers, flooding the cave. Streams danced around Max, then rushed through the tunnels. No! Zorak shrieked, thrashing wildly. My treasure! The water twisted and called, no longer afraid. It had found its freedom. Max swam with the current, using his paws like paddles. The tunnel lit up with the magic of the rain tree. Behind him, Zorak's cries faded. The water carved a path through stone and earth, surging back toward the village. And Max. He floated like a leaf, smiling, tired, but proud. Hours later, just as the sun was rising, the people of Nyota heard a rumble. They rushed to the riverbank, and gasped. MTO Mzuri had returned. Children laughed and splashed. Elephants trumpeted with joy. Birds flew down to sip the sparkling water. And there, dripping wet, with a grin on his face, stood Max. The entire village cheered. Max the brave. Max the hero. Max the river saver. But Max just wagged his tail. He wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the strongest. But he had done what